Welcome to another episode of Clutch Entrepreneurs, episode 8. Today we have a very special guest coming all the way up from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a 23-year-old entrepreneur, coach and mentor, and the host of Hustle Harder, who made $500,000 in his first year in real estate. That's crazy, right? You don't hear that often. So my special guest today, Tonny Romero.
I love that, bro. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, thanks for coming down, man. We've been trying to do this for a while. For my viewers, man, that haven't heard of you yet, man, can you give them a little background on who Tonny Romero is?
Yeah, so 23 years old now, soon to be 24, so I'm getting a little bit older now. But we started in the wholesale space, about to hit 3 years now, and like you said, made $500,000 my first year. That changed my life completely. And then eventually, as we started growing the team, started delegating, I was able to get into other industries in a sense. So we have a pet grooming salon that's booked out months in advance that we can talk about. We have taco trucks. There's a restaurant, with the same brand that just opened. And we also have a mentorship company. We have a software company. So we do a lot. We throw our own events and have some of the biggest speakers across the country come out and a lot of attendees from a lot of different states nationwide. So we do a lot.
Yeah, man. I seen your come up. So you were 21. That was about 3 years ago. And I remember you being with Aaron Bevins and him saying how you made $500,000 in your first year. That's wild, bro.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. That can change your whole life.
Yeah.
That's like 40 grand a month.
It's a lot of money. And so I mean, I got my first deal 4 days in, made $25,000 on that deal.
Damn.
So I hired from day one, and that's what I wanted to do. It was during COVID time. So there were no distractions, especially for us out there in the cold Midwest. There were no bars to go to, no parties to go to. Everyone was in heavy quarantine. So that gave us the opportunity to really understand this business and work every single day in it because there was nothing else to do.
Yeah. Oh, so you started in COVID?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Like quarantine time, like very, very early times.
Yeah. And I'm glad that's not, I can forget about that. That was crazy.
It was a scary time.
It was a scary time, man. Like I was like, not for me, but for your loved ones and everything. Like you don't know what was going on. The news was all crazy. Damn. I don't even want to remember that stuff. So Milwaukee, that's far, man.
Yeah.
Well, what's it like growing up over there, man? Who's I've heard a lot of, because I've been to your event a few times, and I remember you telling me like, hey, don't leave your car here. like they steal cars, and it's just like kind of like rough up there, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I love Milwaukee. It's it's where I grew up, and I'll always have love for Milwaukee. But realistically, it's a dangerous city. The people there don't make a whole lot of money. I remember I was telling you, I think the average income is $23,000 or $24,500. That's really low because that means a lot of people make well below that. Damn. I mean, making, starting a job at $8, $9 an hour is not unusual. Getting a 10 cents raise after a year of working there isn't unusual. So it's very high poverty level, high crime. Obviously, with the winters, our time changing. Like when it's cold out and it gets dark by 4 p.m. in the wintertime. So it's pitch black. So it's like, your days are so short, they're dark, they're cold. So there's not a whole lot of nice happiness and gloomy things. When I go to Arizona, for example, I just feel happy just driving because the sun is just there.
Yeah, the mountains, the views, yeah.
We don't have any of that there.
Yeah.
So
I remember, bro. So I've never been to Milwaukee before your event. And I remember getting off and I was like, God damn, it's cold. Yeah. And it was like the springtime.
Yeah, I think so. It was February.
It was cold, bro.
Yeah.
It was snowing. Like I literally I had like some sweats on with sweats underneath, like 2 jackets, gloves, like 3 socks, beanie all the way, like covering as much as I could, hoodie on. And I went to go walk like for a little exercise by the Great Lake or whatever. Yeah. I couldn't stand it, bro. My hands were still cold, bro. I had gloves on. I was like, fuck, what the hell?
Yeah. And like, it gets colder by the lake.
Yeah. So so is your dad does your dad move up there or his dad move up there? Like how far back did they move up there?
I think my grandpa moved out there to begin with, and then, as relatives on my dad's side started coming down there, they all moved down there. Yeah. So everybody on my dad's side lives in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or surrounding areas. And on my mom's side, they're in Alabama. So thankfully, we didn't go to Alabama.
Interesting. I'd rather probably be in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
At least you got the Bucks.
Yeah. Well, that's been really cool too. Growing up, there wasn't a whole lot of inspiration in that city, but the Bucks and Giannis and what they're doing in their win streaks and winning the championship, that really brought the city together. It has changed so much in the city, from just the way people act, to the love they show, to the community that's given, because we're only a 500,000 population down there.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I mean, even the development too, billions of dollars have gone into Milwaukee in the last couple of years. It's transformed every single year. It's just, the development does not stop. It's building after building after building after building after building. So, and it's all beautiful. That everything that they're building is on the really nice side. So it's an up and coming city. We're looking at possibly taking another championship this year, and then we have the Republican convention coming out, which is massive for the city.
That's awesome. Yeah, so like the Spurs did the same thing for San Antonio. Like we won for so long, and it was like I guess we're like number 6 in the nation, actually, population-wise. People sleep on San Antonio, but we're actually number 6 in the nation.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why there's so many restaurants and shops and retail. It just never ends here.
Yeah, dude. Like there's LA, there's New York, there's Chicago, there's Houston, there's Phoenix, and then there's San Antonio.
Wow.
Yeah. We just jumped over Philadelphia like a few years ago. But I think the Spurs had a lot to do with that. We brought a lot of we were winning for 20 years, bro. Tim Duncan won from like 99 to 14.
Wow.
5 rings, so we were always winning. And I think that does play a part in the growth of the city. So like, how did you get into entrepreneurship, or was wholesaling your first business?
Yeah. Well, when I was younger, I was always interested in flipping stuff. I hated school. I was always a really, really hard worker. I had a huge work ethic. Like if I could work 60, 70, 80 hours a week, I would. That's what made me happy. I was always very fast, very good quality. So I was an amazing employee, other than the fact I would show up whenever I wanted. I wasn't a guy I've always been late to stuff. It's just a habit that it's hard to get rid of.
Same.
And so I think I broke the school record in grade school, 180 late days. High school, we did pretty bad as well. So
Were you a bad kid?
in 1 year.
Would you say you're a little bad kid or no?
Yeah, I was a bad kid. I was hanging around the wrong crowd.
Oh, dang. We all get that story though.
Yeah.
There's something about it though, but then we do good later.
Yeah.
Late bloomer or something.
There's things that have, with being in the bad areas and going through bad things and, things, maybe some stuff that I'll never bring up. There's certain moments where you get to either like that are heavy, that either you change or you keep going down that path. And thankfully I changed, and that's really what pushed me to be an entrepreneur and be in the position that I am today. So I'm glad it happened.
So what was that change? Was there like a moment or no?
Yeah, there was a moment.
What was the moment?
It'll always be confidential.
Oh, come on, man. Give us a little hint.
I can't.
No? Is it bad?
It may be.
Oh, okay. Mine was a girl.
Oh, really? Like a breakup?
Yes.
Okay.
Like a heartbreak.
Yeah.
It changed me crazy. So what was yours? Come on, man.
No sneak peeks.
Guys, if you want to hear it, drop a comment. Instagram them. No, I'm just joking. So how did you get into wholesaling?
So actually I wasn't in school anymore at that point. I was working a job. I was carrying tens of thousands of pounds every single day we were mixing a product. I don't know exactly what it is, but it keeps the ice cream, I guess, stabilized in a sense. It keeps it from not freezing. So I was working in a warehouse pretty much third shift. And then I was late so much that they ended up letting me go. And right around that time, I had heard about wholesaling already. And so I was watching some podcasts, and I got really addicted to podcasts. I was also in quarantine. So my parents said they called me when it got really, really serious, that everybody was kind of like, hey, Monday, everyone's going to go quarantine. And they said, hey, just so you know, this weekend, everyone's going to start quarantining heavy. You can either come and stay, but if you don't come this weekend, you can't come until this is over, if it ever ends. Damn. And if you do come, you can't leave. So
oh, shit.
I ended up going down there, did my research, stayed at my parents' house. I had no responsibilities, no car payments, no anything. Yeah. Thankfully, right prior to this, I had one of the best moments ever happen in my life. I irresponsibly got a Mustang 5.0 without my parents' consent. Ended up buying it for $55,000. Was paying between, so just the car payment was like $650. The insurance was $450 because I was so young. And then gas was like $500 because I was driving 45 minutes to work every day on a V8. So I could barely afford that car. And then thankfully somebody took a red light, crashed it, totaled it, and I got rid of that pretty much that
liability.
financial restraint that I had.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so now I had the freedom, and I ended up just getting kind of like a beat up Camry, and so I had no responsibilities at this time. So I ended up going and I quarantined for a little bit until I learned the business. And then there came a point where actually Aaron Bevins is the one that pushed me, and he said, you have to start driving for dollars. And I told my parents, hey, I got to go drive for dollars. They're like, no, you can't leave the house. And so eventually they did let me, but I couldn't have any human contact. So I couldn't get out of my car. And then I started calling and I started getting some leads. So I need to start to walk them, because in Milwaukee, you can't. It's really hard to lock up virtually. You more likely have to walk in person. A lot of foundation issues, a lot of things that they're not disclosing that could end up being really big in rehab costs. So I told my parents I have to go, and that's when I had to make the decision: do I stay or do I go? And my parents, once I left, I couldn't come back. Damn. So my parents actually, they did 8 or 9 months, no human contact whatsoever.
Really?
Yes, it was crazy.
So where'd you go?
I ended up going to my girl's house.
Oh.
So just stayed there. And then, my mom, she had a Mary Kay office. It was a pink office in the basement of my stepdad's building. Mm-hmm. And I ended up asking her if I could use that office. It was, pink everywhere. But we ended up using it. And then eventually she's like, I'm probably not going to be coming back here for a long time, so you can paint it if you want to. And we made it our own.
Nice. I kind of got a similar story to all that.
Really?
Yeah, my first car was a 5.0.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it was like, that wasn't the cool one, the new one. It was definitely a cool one. Yeah, no, I had an 89. I bought it for $2,000, but it was sick. I had nitrous on it, heads, cams, Cobra rims, candy paint. It was nice. I pushed a little button, and it was what is
like Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, come out the ram air hood. Psst, psst, it was fast as shit.
Growing up, everybody wanted to have Fast and the Furious type nitro.
Exactly. Yeah, so I'd be in front of school like if I see a pretty girl. And then I started in my mom's office too, with my first business.
Yeah,
it was actually the next office over, and then I took over the whole thing. I was like literally in like a little 8x8 room.
Yeah,
like little small as shit.
Yeah,
and then I would call one cousin, he'd come work with me, another cousin. You know how we are, and then we'd be like bumping elbows. It was so small, but we started making money. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's how I did it too. Calling friends that I knew, especially during that time. So it was just a bunch of buddies and young guys, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds that just put it together, and it ended up working out.
Some hustlers.
Yeah. Eventually, you figure out who's good for the team and who's not.
Yeah.
As you grow. But
yeah. It's part of the game. So like wholesaling is like massive capital really quickly. Yeah. Right? So when you realize that, is that when you were like, man, okay, now I'm going to branch off into other businesses? Right, because you said you have the taco trucks. Now you have a restaurant, and you told me like I think you're partnering with your pops on that, right?
Yeah.
And then
and two uncles.
Then you have your dog grooming, and I think you partner with your girl on that. So like you get the money, you get the capital, and then hey, you run it, but we're partners.
Yeah.
Is that what you're doing?
Exactly. So I actually kind of learned this from the Nelk boys, from Kyle and the Nelk boys, that he was starting to build companies. I was building companies with partners that I had to spend a lot of time in. And it didn't necessarily work out because my time is kind of limited. So I wanted to make sure that my family was good, but I also wanted to have people as partners that were in the business and treated it like their own. And obviously that meant equity. And so rather than just somebody that's, hey, we're working 50-50 on this, like, hey, I'll put all the capital in, but you're going to do the work. And then I'll still help. I'm going to oversee. I'm going to be a mentor. I'm going to, in the beginning stages, I'll do what I need to do. Yeah. At night, I still go help on taco trucks. I cook if I need to. I'll close if I need to. I'll wash dishes if I need to. Whatever it needs to be. But there's times when, like, especially right now, I'm in my office from 8 to 5 every single day. After that, I can do other things. But I have to focus on what my priorities are, which is wholesaling and their mentorship company, and then our software company too. But that's what I wanted to do. So I ended up investing into these businesses, and it ended up working out really well for me. And I had the right partners for it. I've had bad partnerships too. I built a JV company with a couple that just it didn't work out. We made a lot insane money really quickly, but the partnership was never going to work. So I learned. I had people that were willing to work in the business and wanted to never work for anybody ever again in their life, and thankfully, again, they worked out. It could have not worked out. And I'm sure there will be businesses I invest into that, will continue to not work out in the future. But so far, we're in a good spot.
Yeah. So I've never been in a partnership. I don't know how that would work with me. But because it's risky because you got a whole other person's ego, you know what I mean? And then, you know, that could get, but with the right partnerships, I've seen it blossom.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
for instance, like All In,
yeah.
like that's a good partnership.
Yeah.
They took over the game.
So I'm similar to kind of what Carlos is doing. I'm the visionary. I'm the one who has the big ideas. I'm the one who's thinking 10 steps ahead and how this will affect the next, you know, the next year, the next 5, etc. Everything I do is always thinking ahead of time. I'm not thinking about just now ever. It's just not what I do. And so every partner that I have doesn't care about being the face of it and doesn't care about getting necessarily recognition. They care about getting shit done. If I give them a list, they'll get it done. They're introverts. They're just focused on doing the business and making sure we have the best product, the best service, and that we're fast.
Yeah. And I think that's the best way because you can't have two like faces.
Yeah.
One has to be the big thinker, the visionary, and then one has to be the detailed, how do we get this done?
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think you got it. I just haven't done it yet. But I mean, it's easier to scale things, right? Because you have somebody like focus, and plus they have equity, so they're gonna go hard. They're not an employee; they're an owner.
It's their business.
You're right. An entrepreneur, man. An entrepreneur. Now you're like you're not a wholesaler. You're not a real estate. You're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Because you got a bunch of businesses. You learn how to like create systems around things and use your capital wisely and partner up with the right people.
Yeah.
Right. So like, what have you learned about entrepreneurship and your journey so far?
That it's hard as hell.
Fuck yeah.
That there's never ending problems, that even if you put a list of 20 things to do and you get them done, there's going to be another 20 to 40 to 100, you know, always that come out. There's always room for improvement. You can always learn that your closest family members and friends are not going to be the ones that support you. So, you know, support just comes from people that love your service, love your product, and, you know, because they're investing into you. So,
Yeah.
I learned to be super appreciative, especially like in the taco truck industry. You know, there's businesses like the Pet Grooming Salon that from day one, we've to this day have spent $0 in marketing. They're actually having a meeting this morning about, and it's really cool that I'm in Texas and they're having meetings with a new hire right now that has an amazing resume, 200 amazing reviews, you know, through her, just what she's doing. And we're bringing her on and looking at some other candidates to scale that company. But that company, as an example, from day one, so many people have a dog. There's such high demand in grooming. There's very limited grooming salons out there, and we have really good quality. We stay away from cages. We build custom fences. It feels like home there for the dogs. It looks beautiful. Our salons do. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, for that business, from day one, it was 3 months booked out from the day we opened. And it's always been that way. Right now, we're 4 months booked out. We're not accepting any new clients, which is why we're hiring and growing that business. And so that business was easy, where support just came right from the get-go. We were never looking for more. It was all, you know, we have 200 people on the waiting list and still have spent $0 in marketing. When you build a taco truck, it's different. Even if you have a brand, or especially when you don't have a brand, that every single sale counts. There's days where a specific $50 order just, it feels so amazing to get it, because you are already in the negative on your labor with the employees that you have, or you have no sales that entire day. There's times when, you know, when you're starting out, that you're sitting there for 4 hours with not a single customer, and you have to throw food away because you already warmed it up. So I learned a lot about support, you know, and really being grateful for the people that do support your business, especially when you're in the growing stages, when you're brand new. Those are the people that come back, the people that are, you know, if they're coming back once a week, those are the people. I mean, I'm so appreciative of those people, because those are the people that help grow everything.
Yeah. So like, I'm interested in the taco truck business because I mean, it sounds cool. Like
Everybody is.
It's kind of like a low startup kind of, right?
Yeah.
Like, how much is a taco truck?
If you're like all used parts, everything used, truck used, and you can get a cheaper contractor to kind of like half-ass it, you can probably be in 20 to 25K.
25K? And that's with the stoves and tops and all that stuff?
Yeah, used. Everything used. And then, you know, with the possibility of some stuff breaking down, but as you make money, you'll replace it. And then I just built, you know, a new one just recently that opened in October, and that one was 65 all in.
65?
Yeah.
Damn, that's like a restaurant.
That's brand new everything, in that truck, 2 windows. I mean, everything you possibly would need it has, and enough inventory for the first week, because first week is the hardest part, because sure, you already built a truck, but then you have to spend like $3,000 in material, because when you buy cups, you have to buy 1,000 cups, 1,000 of this cup, 1,000 lids, 1,000 lids,
like your inventory,
1,000 spoons, right? So it's that first batch, and then as you run out, all right, a box here, a box here, a box of this here. So it's just that first one that hits you. Same thing with the meat. You have to buy all the product. And you're not going to buy it in small pieces because you won't make money on it. You have to buy it in bulk. So you got to buy, a whole case of corn, a case of beans, so you're running up thousands of dollars for that first opening day. But I mean, it works,
So 25 grand could get you a truck.
Yes.
And then you just go ask, like business owners if you could park it, and then you got to pay monthly rent, or
So there's a few things. So when you have a taco truck, you have to find a restaurant that's your base, or at least a place that has already been inspected and can pass like a restaurant. Because when you have a taco truck, you can't prep meats in your truck because you have vegetables. So you have to make sure that you're prepping everything in a responsible area where you're not contaminating things. And so you have to reach out to a restaurant. So if your friends own one, et cetera, they might be able to do it for free for the first couple of months. But that you pay a base fee so that you can prep at their location and keep some stuff in their cooler. But you have to work around their time, because they have, if they're a functioning restaurant, they're working all day. So then you have to figure out if you're going to come in extremely early, like 3 a.m., or you're going to be there super late at night, figuring out coordinating what makes sense with them. So our base fee originally starting was $500. We've kept it at $500 per truck. But you can
500.
Yeah.
That's like your spot though.
Correct.
That comes with your little location and all that?
That's just for the restaurant base fee. So you're able to rent space from the restaurant to be able to prep your food. It's part of getting the licensing.
Really? I never even thought that was a thing.
Yeah, because you can't prep in your truck. You can't prep.
You can't prep at home?
You're not supposed to.
Okay, okay.
So even if you wanted to prep at home, you still have to have a base.
Oh, and that's part of the taco truck industry.
Correct.
Like it's part of a license or something?
Yes, you have to.
Oh, interesting.
And then parking,
but that isn't okay. Go ahead. That's what I was gonna ask.
So with parking, you can, if you're on a public street, at least in Wisconsin, this is how it is. If you're on a public street, you can just park there, as long as there's no signs that say no parking anywhere nearby for that area. There's cities like Chicago or Fond du Lac that we're looking at right now, and you have to move every 2 hours from that location, so you can't stay in that same spot.
Oh, that
but
sucks.
in Milwaukee, you can park wherever you want. You can also ask big companies like gas stations, grocery stores, gyms, if you can park on their lot. A lot of places like Home Depot and a lot of these big like construction companies or just big product companies, they'll just let you do it for free. Really? So it's just about asking, and it's that numbers game. Ask enough businesses to figure out what the best deal is going to be. And then some places, like we have one truck that sits in a gas station. It's $300 a month.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, but we like it because there's no in that specific area, more in the suburbs. There's no public parking on the street anywhere. It's just straight lanes. So that would be the only alternative to being kind of in that. You have to park somewhere.
I got you. And so, like, what's like the typical maybe like? I mean, I know it's not exact, but like on an average for one of your trucks, like how much does it bring in a day in sales?
So it depends. A really good location, like Tosa right now, it can bring in $3,000 to $5,000 a day.
Dang.
Yeah, on the gross side.
Shit.
And then on the weak side, like for example, like the new truck that opened in October, that one it opened in the winter. That was brutal. So in the first couple 3-4 months, it lost money every single month because labor was higher than what you're making in. So there were days where it was like 150, 200, but that's how every truck starts out generally, unless your location is just beautiful, because people have to get to know who you are.
Yeah.
Even if you already have an established brand somewhere else, you have to get a whole new audience, and word of mouth will spread, but it'll take some time.
Right.
So, that was brutal because we opened in the winter in Wisconsin. There's snow, it's cold. People don't want to try new places, go outside, things like that. So, 150, 200. My labor sometimes was 300 a day. So we're not hitting with the numbers we need to.
Yeah. And
now that truck, this last 3 weeks has done minimum $600 a day, and it's starting to grow. So probably by April, it'll do a minimum of $1,000 a day. And then, by summer, it'll be $1,500, $2,000 a day. So, and then every year it should continue to grow because your brand grows stronger.
Right.
But then there's other things like Uber Eats. They bring natural leads to you. So Uber Eats, our first, we were doing $1,000 a week. We just got with them about a month and a half ago with like our new truck. And it was $1,000 a week. So
Like you paying them $1,000 a week?
no, so that's what they're bringing.
Oh,
in
they were
sales.
bringing you $1,000. Damn.
Yeah, so it depends on your area too, and depends on your marketing. We hired really good photographers to take some insane food to make the pictures mouth-watering. You can have DoorDash, Grubhub. You can have you have your personal website too. Those are so important. Accepting credit cards. A lot of taco trucks, they don't accept credit cards. But then also you have the event side too. So for example, I just closed a wedding the other day. It was $4,500 that we're making in 2 hours. Damn. So you go out, if you have an additional truck, it's easy because it's event. So with an event truck, I mean, you could do 80 grand a month.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang, I think people are sleeping on this.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
You can make a lot of money. And you have an advantage because the average, and I'm going to guess it's similar in most cities. In Milwaukee, not a whole lot of people in the taco truck industry accept credit cards. So that's already a defect where you're turning away a lot of business.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't have websites. They don't do marketing. They don't have Google My Business. They don't focus on reviews and getting the reviews better. Like we have, hundreds of reviews. And so we're focused on those things that organically bring people. They don't have those tablets and things like that. But just for the event side, a lot of people don't know how to close a lead. It's just like wholesaling. You have to know how to close. Right. So because if you're closing a $4,500 contract, you got to know your stuff. And so you have to figure out what your plans are, what your options are that make sense for them within their budget. And close that lead. So that's one really big thing that we do is we're really good at bringing in inbound leads. Every single lead that we bring in because for example in August one of the highest grossing trucks was 80,000, and so that was an event truck, and all of it was inbound leads, $0 in marketing spend. Still to this day, the entire Romero's brand is $0 in marketing. It never has spent a single penny on that marketing side.
Dang. But you know what I'm hearing? Like kind of like the taco truck industry in general. Like you're bringing what you learn from wholesaling into it.
Yeah.
Sales and marketing.
Sales and marketing, relationships, talking
brand
to people,
building.
Good products, good service.
That's cool.
Yeah. Being the first to, because it's like wholesaling. When you're the first to a specific seller, you have a very, very, very high chance of being able to close that before anybody else, because they have no other options. Same thing with a lead. When a lead comes in, sometimes in 30 seconds, as soon as the lead comes in 30 seconds, sometimes they're already being called. And they're like, holy crap, because the first to them is more likely going to win. Most of these leads, if your brand's already strong, like our brand that's really strong, and we have to close a lead in a way where they have to think in their mind that if they don't go with you, they're going to regret it because you are the best option.
FOMO. You're giving some FOMO.
And then also we build, because we have a really big brand and because we have a lot of trucks, I can create chaos with, hey, look, as soon as they call, what's the date? All right. Okay. So the seller call, the prospect calls in. What's the date for your event? Oh, X date. Okay. Pause 30 seconds. Pretend you're looking for a calendar. Oh, okay. So we do have 3 other events that day. We have room for 1 more right now. So I'm already creating, creating urgency, right? Yeah. Because they have to, if they don't close quick,
it's gonna get filled up.
Yeah, like the other day we did have a situation where we actually did have one spot left, and 3 people in 2 days inquired about the same day. And this one guy really wanted to try our food. I said, you can come try our food by Saturday. This is a Thursday. You can come try our food, but to be honest, these other guys, they really want it. They're gonna have a wedding at their house as well. At their house, the other ones they wanted. This is the bigger lead, so I really wanted to close him. Like, they're blah blah. They have their choosing the same day. He's like, oh man, I really want to try it. I said, well, you can come today, but even then, I can't guarantee that you're going to get the spot. And right away, he's like, okay, send me the contract whenever. I'll send you the deposit right now. And he wired the deposit over.
Sold.
Yeah. So it's about closing too. And most people don't have those skills. That's why wholesaling is so insane, because you get to learn all these different things. Same thing with skip tracing, right? If a customer in the beginning, we were running into the issue where our developer or our, I guess, website designer wasn't collecting phone numbers. So if a lead didn't pick up their food, we'd just skip trace them and then call them. And they're like, how did you even? They're like, well, we know. In 30 seconds, we can get a hold of people.
All through wholesaling.
Yeah, we had leads that accidentally put their numbers in incorrectly when they're typing it into the form. So we just skip trace them, and then we find them.
Dang. That's crazy. Because like wholesaling, to me, it's like the nucleus of business is just sales. Or it's data, marketing, sales.
Yeah.
And that's like literally you can apply that across the board.
Yeah, and
Any
so many
business.
businesses. That's how I'm able to scale other businesses because of wholesaling.
Oh, that's wild, right?
Yeah.
And it also gave you the capital to be able to start the other businesses.
Yep.
Quick.
And the relationships you build, from wholesaling, you get to meet contractors, you get to meet agents, you get to meet investors that, some of these investors that you get to, a lot of people don't really understand that when you're a wholesaler, you're an asset. And so when you're selling a property to an investor, sure, you're making money, but the bigger picture is that the investor is going to make money. You just brought them a home run that they didn't have to go find. They did, they paid you money for it, but they're going to make money on that deal. Right. So eventually, as you build those relationships, those can be guys that have big capital that trust you, that can invest into other businesses with you.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to get into now.
Nice. I like that. Before we move on from the taco truck thing, because this is really interesting to me. So like, because it's cool. Like a lot of people could do this, right? Like literally, 25 grand to open a business.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So I go meet with Home Depot, whatever city you're in. You negotiate a little price per month. You're probably cooking in the beginning if it's just you, right? You start a little business.
And to be honest, one person can run the entire truck.
One person?
I have one guy that runs one truck with $500-$600 a day.
Yeah. So I go to this one down the street. It's called Daniel's Fire. And I asked him before, I'm like, how much do you make a day in profit? Like after everything, he's like, this location, 700 to 1,000 a day. I was like, damn, bro, that's good. That's like after everything, and he has an old truck, bro. And he's just there on the corner of a shell. People are just waiting in line. And he's only been there for like 3 months. So I mean, 1,000 a day, that's what, 7 days. Well, let's say he works 5 days a week. That's 20 grand a month.
Yep.
And one truck.
Yep.
Then you replace yourself, go get another one.
Yep.
Like, man,
that's how you scale it.
You can come up on that, man. I'm honestly thinking about trying it out.
Location is everything, though. That's going to be your biggest. You want the most amount of eyeballs that you can possibly get organically wherever you park. So if you're parked in a street where you think, there's a lot of houses, you got to be where people are driving by because it's a numbers game. Probably 10,000 people will drive by you before one comes out. I don't know what the exact number is. I'm just making stuff up, but it's like wholesaling. It's a numbers game. You have to be where enough eyeballs are there, constantly seeing you. You're like a billboard.
Yeah.
So and so a lot of those, there's trucks in Milwaukee that are super, like just literally like extremely half-assed, barely put together. Probably spent $15K, $20K on that truck. They only accept cash, and they're living a really good life because they're just them or them and one employee making, $9-10 an hour, and they're making bank.
Well, it's mindset, right? It's like, for instance, a good analogy I could say is like, you can be a great mechanic, but could you run the shop?
Right.
That's what you're doing. You're running the shop. You're not being that's probably the mechanic.
And the other thing that I do too, that a lot of people don't realize in the taco truck industry, I'm actually thinking about a taco truck industry course on building and on just growing your business and scaling it. But it's something that we're kind of in talks with. But I forgot what I was going to say. But
you're going to bring a course.
No, what I was going to say is that the way I think about it is I like to. So the average person, either they don't accept credit cards because they want to, they want to be under the radar, they don't want to pay taxes on that money, et cetera, or they're running the credit cards, but they're hiding the cash, and stuff like that, or they're minimalizing it. I put everything in, and so that means I'm paying a lot of money. But that means when I sell, because every business I build, I want to build to be able to be in a position to sell. I can sell for not what the truck makes, but for what it is projected to be worth, because I have now shown the growth of what that business has done and the numbers and the the ROI and year over year what it's growing, kind of like Shark Tank.
Yeah. I mean, you're building a company.
Or if I want to bring in a big investor, because MBA guys have asked too. Hey, I like that industry. How can I get in?
I see you, man. I see you on social media with some Bucks players.
Yeah,
that's cool. How'd you meet them?
Just bringing value. Giannis's brother, he uses our studio in our office. So there,
But how'd you meet him though?
I'm trying to think of who I met first. See, one thing about meeting people is that, if you can, sometimes the people that can open those doors are not necessarily those specific. If I'm meeting a big influencer, it's not necessarily that person directly. It could be somebody that they know.
I got you.
Or somebody very close to them.
Right.
So I don't necessarily go for that target because, with the Bucks players, I'm in a position where I am so thankful to be friends with some of these guys. And, it's, although you're not supposed to act like a fan when you're around these guys, it's just like, oh man, inside I'm just like screaming because, I never thought this was going to be possible, especially at my age, being able to just, hoop with athletes and be able to ask for them whatever I want in a sense. But I'm not a big asker. I don't ask for things, I give. That's all I lead by just giving. Some of these guys make so much money, but it's really hard to offset that. So they pay a lot of taxes. So they're all looking, especially nowadays that it's more, there's so many more entrepreneurs and a lot of people that when they retire as athletes don't have anything left. And I think a lot of the younger guys are starting to see that they have to start investing early. And so that's something that they're looking at is, figuring out how they can get into real estate with the money that they have. Obviously they can't put the time in.
Right.
So they want to just, look for returns or equity. So those are the kind of talks that we have right now of figuring out what makes sense,
Really?
And what kind of industries they prefer to be in. If they want, higher risk, but high reward, or if they just want simple stuff like real estate where it's invest in this project, you're guaranteed X return, maybe some equity, things like that. So
is that what you're like kind of talking about right now?
Yeah.
Investing their money?
Yeah. That's definitely something that we're working on right now. If figuring out just what makes sense,
Yeah. That's cool.
This is still a newer world for me as far as, bringing in capital, but I have a lot of amazing people like Scott around that,
there you go.
Who's, I get to be able to ask questions from, but then
that'd be
Scott
a
also
perfect
is like,
connect right there.
Scott's like, hey, we'll bring him over here. I'm like, no, this is mine.
This is my connection.
Yeah. I want to be in the position where, we want to raise capital this year and do a lot, not just for real estate, but also just for business. There's a lot of opportunity in business, a lot of money to be made. And we've scaled, we've scaled some smaller businesses into making a lot of money that, like this summer we'll make so much money because, taco trucks make so much money. The pet grooming salon is scaling. There's just so much more flowing in every year after year. And all that money, I take it. There's a piece of it that's lifestyle, but the majority of it just goes back into something else.
Right. Well, yeah, because once you make a certain amount, like you can only spend so much.
Yeah,
you got to be wise with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like real estate personally, but businesses are always going to make the most amount of money.
The cool thing the one thing about a business is that a customer can come back. So for example, if I think about it from the pet grooming industry, a customer, as long as the service was good and the product was good, they're going to come back. And so I don't have to spend any money to bring, which you've now cracked the formula in wholesaling by what you showed me in your office, but I don't have to spend more money to bring more customers. It just organically grows from word of mouth. So there's no extra spend. Like that business, as long as you have employees, will always sustain itself and grow year over year.
Yeah.
Without you having to go out and find a new prospect. In the wholesale space, you always have to find a new prospect. Now, the average 99.9% of wholesalers, we all spend money to make money.
Right.
You have cracked the code because you've figured out how to spend $0 on marketing and still close a lot of deals.
Well, yes and no. I spend money on this to get this brand out in the city because all those deals you saw, that's just in this market.
Right.
I'm only in one market. And so I'm going to learn how to bring this brand to Austin, Houston, Dallas, and hopefully just,
Yeah.
That's the goal. But yeah, I guess so. I got a question. Have you met Giannis?
Not yet.
Not yet? Dang, that's going to be a cool moment.
It's going to be a cool moment, especially, meeting him through his brothers. I met Thanasis a week and a half ago.
So you're on the way. You're on the way. I want to see that picture.
I'm on a mission to close to get as many signed jerseys as possible right now. So I've got a Pacers jersey that's getting signed this week. But my barber's gonna get that connect going because my barber. See, I started in a good spot too because I always love to see how people grow. And so like my barber, I pay $100 every single week for a haircut. So I spend $400 on haircuts.
$100 a cut?
Every single cut.
Damn.
So that's $400 a month just on haircuts. But my barber cuts all the NBA guys. And so I know that relationship is important.
Right.
And I also want to I support anybody who has a small business that comes out to me. If they're, I like to see a lot of young guys and seeing how their dreams are. And I want to be a big supporter. So if there's guys that are selling shirts, that are doing this, that are growing, if they're hustling and they have good service and a good product, I invest, it's buy into them by just buying stuff. I'll be like, hey, sell me 4 of those or 3 of this or 8 of those because, or, let me get cut by you. Or, I'm like right now I have a few barbers that are big in the space and I want to get cut by them. Even if it's just one time, just to, get to know them. Like the guy for the Brewers, Marjan's direct barber, so because I want to support them, and then also because it's just a really good connect.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are like, oh, well, I won't cheat on my barber. Man, I'll go whoever can cut me. And then my barber will be pissed, but I'll give him a big tip on when I come back.
I get what you're doing. You see the value
Yeah.
in the connection.
Yeah.
So you're willing to pay more.
People have value, and
Right.
so you have to figure out kind of what that is. You also have to figure out what people want and give it to them so that you can be in their circle.
Yeah. I get it. I get
Yeah.
it. Do you think that has anything to do with your social media and all that?
Yeah. I hang around some of the biggest, in the real estate space, practically everybody that's big.
Yeah.
Every single name you can think of, I have pictures with on my Instagram. And then also,
was that
NBA
your method? Was that your one of your methods?
Well,
because you got some cool ass pictures with some cool ass people.
Yeah. So, I've spent kind of like you, I've spent a lot of money on photographers, flying them out. That's not cheap at all. There's some nights where for one event, it might be $2-3 grand just to have them out, from flight, hotel, car rental, and just their what they charge,
Mm-hmm.
I've had guys that come out for 2 days and they send me a bill for $2 grand just for their labor. I'm like, God damn, for a vlog, and so it's like, it's all investing, and it's paid off, and it's opened a lot of doors. And then throwing my own events also has really, really, really built a lot of credibility, opened a lot of doors. But I have a lot of strategies that I use in the social media side that has helped grow and open more doors so much easier.
Mm-hmm. And I actually do like that event. That's a good event.
Yeah.
You got me in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
What the fuck am I doing in Milwaukee?
I got everybody that's been to my events is 99% of them have never been in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
We had 26 states fly out for the last one.
Yeah.
24
it's a good
states in
event.
the first one.
I like the spot. I like everything. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have all a bunch of good players from around the nation. So.
Wait till you see who's speaking at the next one. I got some NBA guys coming out.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Really, really big ones, and possibly one of the ones you're looking forward to.
Nice. I already know who that is. I met your partner, Scott.
Yeah.
He was cool.
Yeah, we throw events together. Scott's awesome.
Is he a billionaire?
He's worth $500 million.
$500 million. That's not bad. Half a B.
Yeah.
What does he do? He's like a developer, right?
So he syndicates hundreds of millions of dollars. He develops at a massive level, hundreds of millions at a time, generally, that he has projects going on. He's one of the biggest hard money lenders in the Midwest. He's everywhere in the Midwest, from Wisconsin to Illinois to Michigan to Indiana and Iowa. So everything around Wisconsin, he gives all the flippers all the money. Generally it's who are you using? Scott for your money. He also owns thousands of units on the residential side, millions of square feet on the commercial side. I won't give his exact numbers because they always fluctuate, and he might have bought 1,000 units in the last week. He's pretty crazy like
Boss.
that. Yeah, so
he's a smart dude.
He owns hotels. He owns warehouses. He owns anything you can think of. He owns half of downtown. I always say it's
crazy.
He's awesome. He's a really, really, really amazing person.
And he's a younger dude. Like you know, for that much success,
he's probably in his 40s or 50s. Yeah.
For doing that much stuff. Bro.
And he started from nothing too. He didn't come in. He wasn't born into wealth at all.
Yeah.
Everything was from the ground up.
And how'd you meet that guy?
Again, value. Everybody I get to meet, I try to lead with value. But that one actually, that's probably one of the most important relationships I've ever built, because it's what started to open a lot of doors. Because a guy like that is a lot of credibility, and him, like if I go to the best steakhouses in Milwaukee, first of all, I know all the owners at all the best steakhouses, at every best restaurant, at every hotel, even the higher ends. A lot of it because of Scott, a lot of it just because of, just the relationships and doors that I open. I know all the best club owners, etc. But with Scott, he's opened a lot of doors. So so pretty much there was an investor, and they were buying a property from us, a wholesale property. It was funny because Scott ended up foreclosing on this guy because he didn't pay back. It was a JV deal that came kind of into our world, and we ended up seeing that he was using a hard money company for the investment property. This was early. This was like 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I called them maybe 2.5 years ago. I called the hard money company and I said, hey, we have an investor that's using you guys. I was just wondering, do you guys ever have more investors? Because we have a lot of properties going all the time, and we'd love to see how we can work together, maybe pay you guys a fee for anything that you guys help us sell to to your buyers? And they said yes, but that was like October, November. And so I didn't get to meet with them until January because end of year closings are nuts. You know, it's the busiest time of the year. So January, February, I ended up coming down there, met with their loan originator, and they're pretty much their top executive at that company. And Scott ended up coming down that day out of just coincidence. And he ended up just kind of asking a little bit about me. He ended up asking, you know, I was telling him what we were doing in the space. I actually had a lot of HUDs with me, so I showed him a lot of what we were doing just to build, build credibility. It wasn't necessarily on purpose. I just always carried my checks in my backpack all the time when I was starting, because I don't know, I felt like a baller. So anyways, he ended up asking me a quick question about they were going to send a mail campaign out to get more investors. And I asked them what kind of list. They said, well, we just got a list from a title, one of our title companies. They just gave us a list. We're just going to mail stuff out. So I knew that although he can spend a crazy amount of money on whatever he wants to, because, they're not hurting for it and it's branding regardless because of how big they are, it wasn't a strategic way of doing it. There could have been a more controlled way. And so I said, well, why don't you guys pull lists in strategic ways of the most active cash buyers that are out there? Or if you're looking for even older cash buyers, maybe the last 3 to 5 years that are trying to get back into the game, or, figure out a way that we can really target what they're looking for. And so I ended up bringing some VAs and helped them engineer VAs. So we did texting, we did cold calling to bring in VAs, and then they run a lot of the admin stuff. They post on Bigger Pockets for them now. So I built something for them, and I didn't charge anything. I just built it just because I wanted that relationship. I wanted to bring value, and to a guy like that, how do you bring value? So sometimes, and so I put together a team. In the beginning, I remember I quoted him out of nowhere that day when I met with their marketing team, and what I quoted them, he's like, "Yep, done." I was losing money for 3 months paying his stuff because I was on the negative side of what my labor for the VAs were and the list pulling and the skip tracing. But I didn't say anything or ask for anything. I just did it because.
So you were getting him buyers?
I was bringing in investors for them to borrow money on the hard money side.
Damn. And now did you use those buyers?
So we did have access to them, and he said I can have access to anybody that they
just
bring.
sell them the loan, bring them the loan.
Yeah, but I mean. Ideally, we brought some of those guys on as investors for our wholesale company, but we wouldn't reach out to them until later on, a couple months later, because they're his leads at the beginning of the day. If they're working on closing those leads for a loan, I wanted that to go through before anything else.
Gotcha. So
and then we threw the event. That was a big credibility standpoint because I got to prove what I could do, not only to myself but to Scott. And because his name was on that, so I make sure that anything I do, reputation, and I have to make sure I keep that, especially for a guy that big. Yeah. Sure, me as well. I plan on being in this industry for 40 plus years, but for a guy like Scott.
Yeah, you got to make sure it's right.
Yeah.
Especially if it's in his building.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you know what I'm hearing, like a repetitive thing? Like you're good at making connections.
Yeah, I open a lot of doors, thankfully.
But I feel like that's almost like one of your superpowers. Like that's what you're looking for. You're looking for connections.
Yeah, and I don't ask for things in return.
Yeah, but good connections. Like you're strategic with it. Like, all right, here's how I'm gonna get to this one. Here's what we're gonna do together. So congrats on that, man. It's a good skill to have.
And I'll connect people too. Like an NBA guy, just to not name names, he wanted to meet with a specific brand, and so I have access to a lot of big influencers too, just through friends and things like that. They're all good friends of mine, and so I put them together, and so those are things that I do too. I connect resources that I already have, because if I necessarily can't bring value at that point because I'm not what they're looking for, I at least would like to set them up with people that can what they're looking for, because that is value.
Yeah,
putting those pieces together. And although I've put so many insane relationships together that have made millions and millions and millions of dollars together. Some relationships that you see at events with even guys in the real estate space that I connect all the time, nonstop. And nobody has ever come back and been like, "Hey, thanks," But I know that in the back of their mind, they know. Yeah, they know. Well, they know what I brought.
Yeah, you created value.
Exactly.
You're gonna get that back.
So I'm a big connector. I love connecting people because it doesn't have to be I'm not expecting things in return. I'm just doing it because I want to
add value.
Yeah, and I want to have access too,
Yeah.
But in a respectful way. I never want to. I don't take advantage of people or situations. All I want to do is. Sometimes I'm just grateful to be in those rooms. To be honest, just being there is insane. I mean, I'm generally the youngest guy or the smallest guy in all the rooms that I hang out in.
Yeah. You know what? I got a word for you. You created it. You know what I'm gonna call you? You're the first influence broker.
Actually, that would be cool.
You're like a broker for the influence of people. Hey, let me connect you here. Because a broker, all it does is connect the dots.
Yeah.
You're the first influence broker. All right. So, guys, I hope you are liking this show. I hope we gave you some game. Now you know how you can start a business that makes $1,000 a day with a $25K investment. It's actually very interesting. And I think, like, once you become an entrepreneur, it's a great business. I think I'm actually going to try it. Like with my pops or somebody. I don't know. But if you like this show, guys, make sure you drop a comment, you share with your friends, and so we can continue to spread these messages. So for people that are watching, man, how can they find you?
So Instagram is the Tonny Romero, TheTonny, and then Romero, Romero. We have a podcast coming out soon. It's called Hustle Harder Podcast. Hoping to launch this next Wednesday. So that's super exciting. Got a lot of really high level people. That is going to open some insane doors, and it already has. We have some crazy people that have already been on in the industry that are very connected in the rap game, or video editors for T.I.'s record label, and boxers who are professionally undefeated and have hundreds of amateur fights, and NBA players. We have some NFL players, some professional athletes in other industries coming on, and guys like Scott, and owners of really big nightclubs and things like that. So we're super excited.
That's
about
what we're
what's
trying
coming.
to do. Yeah, that's cool, man.
So I just want to say, I was a little bit more open on this one than I usually am, and just usually talk about my own journey. But I hope you guys liked it, and I mean, I do everything from the heart. So,
what's some advice you can give them? Just for entrepreneurial advice.
Don't care about what anybody says or thinks about you. People don't pay your bills, so it shouldn't matter. Even if it's family, I've had to say even recently to family, I just don't want to talk to you ever again, because they've brought nothing but negativity into my life, or have said bad things about me, and or made stuff up. And so a lot of people will just not support you. You have to be grateful for the ones that do, and you just have to keep moving forward. I mean, start young, especially when you don't have any responsibilities, because if you're 16, 17, I just had a 16-year-old close $14,000 on his first deal, $4,500 on his second deal. So start early, because you have no responsibilities you have to deal with, and you can take that risk. If you lose all that money, you can just go eat ramen and stay with your parents for a couple months until you get back up on your feet, and then go at it again. The knowledge won't go away. That's value right there.
The knowledge and the skills. All right, so last question for you, man, before we end. What does the word clutch mean to you?
Ooh, I honestly don't even know what it means in general. Like
you don't
the
know what clutch
actual.
is?
No, I don't.
You don't watch sports? I thought you watch sports.
I don't really watch sports, no.
So clutch is like the guys that make the shot, like when the game's on the line. Like, said, man, that was clutch.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's why you got Jordan and Kobe behind you. All the greats were clutch. So it's like the guy that you want when the game's on the line. Like Giannis. Like, let's just say it's 99-99 for the championship. And you got 3 seconds left, and he shoots it and he makes it and he wins the championship.
Oh,
that's clutch.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so only people with clutch are on this show, man. So that was the first time I had to explain what clutch was, but now
your viewers know too.
Now that you know too, because yesterday I had a championship boxer from San Antonio, and he was talking about the card clutch. He was like, "Yeah, man, clutch is moving gears forward, man." I was
oh, no way!
It's funny, but he's cool. All right, guys. Well, hey, I hope you enjoyed this show. We got an event to go back to. I hope you liked it, and subscribe, share with your friends, leave some comments, and we'll see you on the next one. Stay clutch.
Stay clutch.